The senior advisor at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, Glenn Gerstell, also served himself a long time in the intelligence community. I want to tell you, as you read the details of this hack, how concerned are you?
In one word, very. This attack is audacious, it's sophisticated, and it's strategic. It isn't necessarily surprising because we've seen, Jim, China go after our infrastructure, telecoms, valuable assets, stealing intellectual property over the years through cyber warfare. But this is easily the most audacious. Obviously, Senator Warner, who's not prone to exaggeration, described it as the worst telecom hack ever. It is of grave concern for our national security. It's sophisticated because the Chinese were able to figure out apparently some ways to exploit vulnerabilities in our telecom system. And then most of all, it's strategic because China decided what they wanted to do most, and this is, we don't know this for sure, but this is what it appears like. They wanted to be able to find out which Chinese spies operating in the United States we might be tracking, trying to use our own surveillance mechanisms on those spies here in the United States, and that's the information they were looking for, among other things.
As I read about this, it strikes me you could almost describe it as an infection, right? That they've infected the system and it's still there. Senator Warner has said to really dig the hack out and the hackers out, telecom companies might have to replace entire chunks of their infrastructure. I mean, that takes time. That takes money. I mean, I just wonder how quickly this can be rectified.
Well, you're right. We don't know exactly the extent to which the Chinese are still in the system, and we're not sure exactly how they got in. But whatever it is, it doesn't appear that we've been able to successfully close the door and lock all the windows to make sure they can't come in again. So they're probably still in the system. It took us a year apparently to detect it in the first place. I think we've got to assume that they're still inside our systems. And these telecom systems are sort of old and rickety, so to speak. They date back to the landline systems of the 1970s and 80s. We bolted on a cellular system to it. The 2G and 3G systems, the older cellular technologies, are known to be vulnerable to something called SS7, the type of signaling technology that's used for text messages. One good thing, perhaps, is that encrypted messages, such as messages sent on your iPhone to another iPhone, probably were not caught by this because they're encrypted end-to-end. Some messages like WhatsApp and Signal that use encrypted communications were not able to be breached. But still, the Chinese were able to get an awful lot of information.
A couple targets here. As you mentioned, it seems that they were specifically trying to look at how many Chinese spies the U.S. had identified and who they'd missed, so that they could, of course, keep the folks who have been missed and perhaps get rid of the ones who've been identified or move them out. But it also seems that they were targeting senior politicians, including President-elect Trump and J.D. Vance. So it seems like there's a surveillance aspect to this as well.
Oh, it's totally about surveillance, but it's surveillance for a strategic purpose. The Chinese have already penetrated other infrastructure in the United States. This moving to the communications side enabled them to get some very sophisticated intelligence on the incoming administration, which of course they'd be vitally interested in knowing. And then also find out a little bit about what do the US intelligence community, what does the FBI know about spies operating on behalf of China inside the United States. And the way they were able to do that is to go to the mechanism that the FBI uses when it gets a search warrant, to go to the telecom companies and say, give us information about this particular target. And they were able to exploit that.
So the other piece of this, right, and this is something that from my own reporting has always struck me, that there is national security intelligence gathering. And by the way, the U.S. does that too on China and other countries. Sure. But then there's private sector intelligence gathering. And China has been most guilty of many in this field in that it goes after private companies' intellectual property, often with great success. I wrote years ago about how they were able to steal plans for instance, top weapons systems from private companies. Do we think that this kind of penetration would have that intent as well?
It's too soon to tell exactly what the intent is. Right now, it sounds like it's strategic intelligence, getting information about the incoming administration, and about what our spy agencies know, as I said already, about Chinese spies. But clearly, espionage for industrial purposes, such as the long recognized theft of intellectual property from U.S. solar panel manufacturers. There's a reason China now dominates that field, because they stole the technology. They got it all for free. So this is a clear pattern on behalf of China.
It saves you a lot of money when you just steal it. Before we go, you used to work for the NSA as the general counsel. Can we assume that the U.S. has similar capabilities and perhaps penetration of Chinese government secure systems?
Well, the U.S. government has said that in many respects, China is a peer competitor in terms of espionage. It has very significant capabilities. We're seeing that right now. Obviously, the U.S. does as well. We get exquisite intelligence about national security threats facing the United States, not only from China, but elsewhere around the world. So I don't know that we would necessarily comment. The U.S. government hasn't commented on whether we do anything exactly like this, but I can assure you that the United States government has robust capabilities itself, which of course complicates this, because this isn't an active war. It's causing grave damage. It's of tremendous concern, but it isn't something we're going to respond to by sending a missile or have a bomber go anywhere. And that's the real problem with this.
No question. How do you respond? Glenn Gerstell, thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
And we will be right back.